moon.
All right, welcome. If you could give us your name and where you're from.
Well, I'm Steve Gibb. I'm an Aussie from down under here. On the Discord, I go by Beefcake 4000, which is a very old, slightly embarrassing Discord handle that I probably should change one of these days. But
Nah.
it made sense, when I set it up 20 years ago. So yeah, that's me.
Old gamer tags give us character. That's all right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So hello from down under.
And I understand you won't be coming to AdeptCon, unfortunately, this year, but you did finish top 8 last year.
Yeah.
So we'd like to hear, kind of like what list you've been playing recently and like what faction you've been playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an interesting year. When I came to Worlds, I played Imperials, and it was probably 12 months ago. I guess that was the thing, right? It was all Dark Troopers and Vader Blizz, and it was like this is going to dominate everything. It's going to annihilate everything, and then bloody Luke Cook comes up with some random thing no one had ever considered, or he's done really well. So I switched to Imps last year, but I'm mostly a droid player. So for the last 12 months, I sort of dabble. Like I mostly play droids in different forms. So lately, I've been trying out that experimental droid.
Oh man, it's so good.
I don't know. I found that since clones have hit that critical mass, that droids, you can't really like what droids are good at doesn't really work in the meta anymore. Like, good old B1s and 2 crits doesn't really mean anything when there's Yoda and situational awareness and dodges coming out the yin yang, and it's like that's crazy. So the experimentals have been good. I played a little 1-day comp yesterday and just smashed some games with those, so they were good. And I guess I sort of experiment with a few things as well. So I've done a little bit of I guess helping some of the guys get ready for Worlds. People like a bit of Beta Blizz because they want to test against that kind of thing, and got a couple of interesting Dark Trooper lists up here going on, like just sort of testing a few ideas, I guess. Probably the only thing I don't play is clones and not a lot of Rebels anymore. Like I don't know. I love the guys that are out there doing stuff with Rebels, but I cannot get my brain around what to do with Rebel lists right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can't either. I do recognize and I see that some guys are having success still with Rebels outside of Bright Tree Village even, but I don't know if it's just not my play style or it's not Luke, so I don't want to play it. But I definitely feel you there.
I mean, obviously, there's a couple of guys doing more with Ewoks, and I'm like, man, that's impressive as well. Like I can sort of see it, and I've watched it, and I would love it to see, if that French guy who really sort of took them to that whole nother level, if he could, smash out a few wins at Worlds, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like I look at Rebels on paper and I go, Cassian looks good and just stuff looks good, but it's so fragile when you put it on the table, it seems to just dissolve.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Fragile models with high quality small dice pools. It's like it's not cutting it these days.
And let's face it, once you play droids, I mean, order control is a hell of a drug. So trying to give that up is like really hard.
Yeah, I haven't seen order control in ever. I own droids, but I don't play them. So, all right. Next question. What would you say are like your playing strengths with the list that you play?
I guess I'm an old school gamer. I guess I've been around for a long time, and I think probably my biggest strength is objective play. Like I don't get distracted by just killing things, and it's because I play a lot of different systems, and when you play enough systems, you realize there's a lot of similarity in them, right? There's a lot of core mechanics that kind of translate across. So, usually, like when I play, I'm really very, very focused on visualizing, I guess, what the mission's going to play out as, what I think is going to happen here, how I'm going to get to those objectives. And I'll have that plan in my head before I start the game. And it's funny because sometimes it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. Sometimes, in your head, you're like, okay, they're going to play exactly like I assume they're going to play. And it's all going to play out exactly like this. But sometimes, like, I usually assume people are quite conservative, and you run into some guys who are quite aggro, and they're just like all the stuff, and you're like, holy shit, what is happening right now? You've got to kind of reinvent your whole plan. And that can
Yeah.
be, that can be rough. But I guess in the same breath, sometimes you'll be looking at it and you'll be going, oh, I've really stuffed something up. I've completely, I've done something horrendous and the game's over, kind of thing. But if they don't spot it, you've got to just kind of. It can be hard sometimes to sort of just be quiet about it.
I'm pretty bad about being quiet in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was playing a practice game the other day, and I said that. I was like, "Oh no, I just stuffed something up." And it was on the computer, so on TTS, so my opponent couldn't tell me. I couldn't see it, and I was like, and he's like, "Oh, what is it? What is it?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you."
Nothing.
There was still a possibility of salvaging it right up until because again it was random draws, so it was like, no, I can't tell you what's going to happen. But that's like that's probably my biggest thing. I can usually look at how things are, turn 0 onwards and map it out to a reasonable amount of certainty.
Okay.
I said it doesn't always work. Like I had a game last year at Worlds, and I was running ATST Blizzard. I ran into another dude running double ATST, one of the UK guys, running double ATST, and I was like, oh, this is bad. But I'm like, okay, he's got 2 ATSTs and 2 bikes, and I've got 1 ATST and 3 bikes. I'm like, or 4 bikes. I'm like, okay, surely I should be able to, by the time mine's dead, if I can kill one of his, I'll be okay.
Right.
And then he comes out with 2 bikes, unaimed bikes, double move shoot. He took 9 wounds off my ATST with 2 unaimed bikes. And I'm just sitting there just going, well, my plan is out the window.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work, but it's one of those ones where you do what you can and you see how it goes.
Adaptation is key in those kind of moments. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and try not to, try not to, I don't know what the word for it is, but like, like when the salt mine opens up and you can suddenly, all you can fixate on is that dice roll. And then you go downhill more and more. Yeah. It can be really hard not to fixate on those moments, but if you can maintain your chill, you'll be all right. Sometimes.
It's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. With that in mind, what would you say is your biggest flaw with your lists or the style of your play?
Probably, I guess, and maybe it's the nature of Legion not having new missions for a long time, but I tend to play, I guess, in a fairly fixed way now. Like the armies that I build and the missions that I'm building for tend to be like the same. Like, I don't generally play Jedi. Like I probably could. I mean, I've been playing for a long time. Jedi aren't. There's a skill cap. There's a learning curve with Jedi, but it's not impossible. But I'm just like, no, I'm just going to build a list now where it's either going to be, bike skew for bombing run breakthrough, that sort of stuff, or I'm going to go for, KP, intercept, the neutral missions, payload, that sort of stuff. So I probably, and I guess I'm a little conscious of having fallen into a bit of a rut with, it doesn't matter what army I'm looking at. I could play Ewoks, I could play droids, I could play Imperials, and I'd probably still be like, okay, how do I build so that I can do these missions? Like I like a bit of recover the supplies, but hostage, never going to play it. Not in a million years, just way too scary. Don't want to learn, too complicated.
Not even with experimental droids. With a speed 2 hostage.
Yeah. See, and in my brain, I guess this is where the theory hammer comes in, I guess. Like in my brain, I go, that's brilliant until Yoda's on the other side of the table. And then it's just terrible. And I guess that's it. Like, I don't know if other players do this or if they're more flexible, but I guess I'm very good at one style of Legion, and I kind of like take me out of my comfort zone, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell people that. Maybe they're all like, oh, I haven't played BFK, can never play hostage, you won't know what to do. And yeah, they'd be right. I don't have a friggin' clue. So it's kind of how that plays out, yeah.
That's all right. It's totally all right.
Glad I'm not coming to Worlds and people can't see this. It's good.
Yeah, it's fine. They'll forget by next year too. It'll be fine.
I got 12 months to learn.
Yeah. Cool. Revealing all your secrets here. Next question is, what would be your fondest or most memorable in-game moment of Legion?
Oh, you know what? It's one of those games where the wins and the losses are sometimes, there's those moments, right? Like I've had so many wonderful games with Legion. I think Legion is a game that is very, very fun, even at the top end. It's always really fun. Like I've had some tense games, but even the tense games are not, they're not stressful or scary. They're always really positive. Um, and I don't think I can tell you like one specific one. Like there are certain ones that stick in my brain. Like I remember playing Wave One Legion. Like how far ago was that? I remember playing Wave One Core Set Legion at a local game shop, and I was playing against a guy there who was an extremely good player. And it literally came down to it. It was recover the supplies. It was all a bit of a mess because that's what Wave One was like back then. And it literally came down to, right, I've got two stormtroopers holding the box. He's onto his last activation of the game. The only thing he can possibly do to beat me is use good old core set Luke Skywalker, and he needed his gun, and he had to shoot me two red dice, and he needed 2 crits because I was in heavy cover. And if he gets 2 crits, he wins the game. If he gets literally anything else, he loses the game. And of course, he gets it, and it happens.
1 in 16, beautiful, beautiful.
It's like, come on. But it was one of those things. Legion is full of fun stuff like that. I think one of the weirdest moments I ever had was I was playing at Worlds last year. On day one, we only had to go 2-1 to get through. So it was the third game, last game of the day. I was very tired. I was massively jet lagged, and I was playing against Finn. And Finn is obviously he's the German player. He's one of the best in the world. Like he's easily every year he's my pick to win Worlds because I think he's phenomenal. So this is a great opportunity for me to actually meet this guy. Different parts of the world, play this game. We'd had a little chat about missions and stuff. A bit of theory hammer before we started. And his cards are all in German. So I was like, oh, it's really funny. They look similar, but the wording, whatever. Anyway, so we play our actual game, and it's weird to describe. So we got to turn 4, and in turn 4, I realized in my horrendously jet lagged brain that I was playing KP, but the mission we were actually playing was Breakthrough.
No.
I have never done that before or since. It was like the single biggest brain fart in the history of Legion.
Not till turn 4, too. Oof.
And it was because we've been chatting about it beforehand. So I had KP in my brain, and my whole positioning, everything was set up, and the little red flags were going off, but the spider sense was going off because I'm like, his play, his positioning is really weird for KP. Like he's gonna have to rush. He's probably looking at me going, his positioning is really weird for Breakthrough. What the hell is he doing? And then I looked at it, and then the penny dropped, and I looked at the cards, and again they're all in German, but I looked at the little bar that is Breakthrough, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I just put his hand and said, thanks, buddy. I'm sorry. That was a good game up until that point. I was like, that has got to be. You see what I'm saying? Like Legion is just full of this sort of stuff. That was like the dumbest game of Legion I've ever played. And I'm so glad I didn't get knocked out of Worlds. Because of that. But obviously I survived that and I got through.
Right. Against Finn of all people too.
Yeah. Obviously it's just crazy town. So anyway, good luck to everybody this year because it's one and done.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
No jet lag brains this time.
No, absolutely not. Get good, scrum.
All right. How about your fondest non-game moment in the Legion community?
You know what? Same kind of thing. There are so many good little communities around in this particular place. And I mean, I assume the vibes are the same in America as in Australia. Like I love the culture around Legion. Like, I'm part of the C4 gaming club over here, which is like an hour and a bit from my house kind of thing. But, they're close enough. And the vibes that we get, we go to big events. There's always a bunch of guys. There's always a big dinner afterwards. Like those are the moments that I think are by far the most positive component for all of this. And I really love that culture and that vibe around Legion. Like I've been gaming for 25 years, you know, starting back with second ed 40k back in the literal 90s kind of thing. And I don't think I've ever found a game that has as positive and wholesome a culture. So any sort of moment, any sort of experience like that, just hanging around, chatting with guys, you know, going to those dinners, you know, that sort of stuff is easily the most positive things that I've encountered in the game. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been hearing that a lot with these interviews I've been doing. Everyone, it's, I don't know what it is about the people that are drawn to Star Wars Legion, but they are phenomenal people. It's a great
They really
community.
are. Absolutely. And like I said, the game is still the game is still hard. The games are still
Yeah.
tense. They're still
Yeah.
complex. It's not like it's any easier or harder than any other game. So it's not that. It's just something, you know, is it self-perpetuating? You know, did you start with a good crew and that spread those vibes and that's who we got in? Like, I don't know. It's just, no, great stuff.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. All right. Next question here is what kind of list do you want to play against in tournaments, and what kind of list like makes you nervous to play against?
Good question. Oh, like I said, given that I tend to be a little bit of a conservative kind of player, and I tend to take things a little more strategically, and I'm not super aggro. Thinking about what I would expect to see at Worlds, right? The list that would have made me nervous, I think, would be the Darth double Inquisitors list. You know, like yeet the Inquisitors kind of list. Like, I looked at that and I just went, holy crap. And that, and probably the other one that's similar is the double darks in the tank, you know, double dark gav tank, because it's like same kind of principle. Like that army is in your face immediately, and either you have an answer or you're dead, and it's round 2, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like I've played against, you know, I guess in previous versions of points or whatever, like, you know, playing against the triple flame spiders and that sort of stuff. And it's the same principle. Either you can manage and contain what they're trying to do, or you're just dead. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like
just a checkbox. Are you ready for it or not?
Yeah, I'm like, I've got my little B1 horde here. I've got my 2 crits a turn going with all my B1 E5Ss, and you're just like, no, I'm not playing that game. I'm playing the turn 2 game over game. And it's like, that's horrifying.
Me or you, buddy. It's happening.
Yeah, so I don't entirely know what I would have run at Worlds this year. I had a few ideas, but it was hard. The things I guess I would have been hoping to see, like there was a time when I was really petrified of Tempest, and I kind of worked out how to beat them, so I wasn't super worried about them anymore.
Okay.
The clone ball, if I'm a droid player, the clone ball is obviously horrifying, but again, you can, once you've played it enough times, you can kind of work your way around it. So I think, the really aggro lists are the only ones I was worried about.
Okay.
And I think, the lists that you want to play against probably other things that are a little bit unique and different. Like from Worlds last year, even though Lila's list was the one that knocked me out, that was so cool to see. Yeah, like I would never have, like, I could have written you, you know, 10 lists that I think will win Worlds, and that would not have been on it. It wouldn't have even been on the 50 lists I thought would win Worlds. It was so far off my radar, it just didn't exist. And that's
she
what
came
I thought,
so close too.
Yeah, and that is such a sick little list, and I hope someone comes up with that. Like I've seen a few interesting little, you know, bits and bobs that have been popping up and people have been testing out. And I thought, man, I hope it's some weird, wacky, you know, concoction which no one sees coming, because that's what you want. Like, you know, if World's Finals is Yoda clones versus Yoda clones, I mean, we're going to watch it because it's Worlds, but we're not going to be like, yay, this is the best game in the history of the world. But if someone comes up with some wacky, crazy garbage that no one's predicted, that will just be amazing. So that's what we're hoping for.
Cool. I agree. All right, winding up here. Is there a fun fact about you that others might not know?
Given that I'm Australian, I doubt they know any facts about me.
That's true. Well, just give us a fun one then.
Honestly, I don't think I have a fun fact. This is why you should have sent me the questions in advance if I thought of something.
That's my fault.
Yeah, God, no, I got nothing. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. Not a problem.
Put that one
out. Do you have any local store or club you'd like to shout out?
Look, a big shout out to the C4 guys, which is the Central Coast crew. That is a little homebrew gaming club, I guess, but you know they're such a beautiful group of people and they're so welcoming, and they run lots of regular events and that sort of stuff. So I know there's a few of our guys coming over there repping the C4. They'll have the shirts, they'll have the logo and all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
So it's great, and it's just like I said, it encapsulates everything that's great about this culture and about this community. So we love that. We want more of it.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Stephen. It's been a pleasure chatting, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Absolutely, my friend. I hope you have a good year as well. And yeah, I will catch you on the flip side.
All right.
That's no moon.